Good morning. Yes, as Leslie said, I'm Karl Hanzel, I'm the School of Medicine Health and Safety Coordinator. Just to give you a brief overview of the structure currently, it's basically myself who has an overarching responsibility for coordinating health and safety within the School of Medicine. And as I'm sure you're aware, it's broken into a series of institutes. Now, each of those institutes, depending on where you are located, will have an institute safety officer. So when you get back to your sections and departments, please make yourself known to them, and they can also brief you with more detailed level of health and safety. Obviously, you will undertake more detailed inductions locally, but importantly, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of some of the sort of key things you need to consider. I'm sure you would have had, if you've done previous degrees and so on, you would have had some health and safety training. But again, as part of our duty of care, we need to sort of go over some of the main points with you. I don't want to go over this map again. I realise you've had a map, but that's just to give you an idea of the size of the school and some of the areas that we occupy. There's approximately 900 staff and 2,000 students, give or take 100 or 200 or 1,000, depending on what time of year it is. So it's quite an extensive area that we cover in terms of safety. Now, the main aims and objectives of the School of Medicine, or by extension via Cardiff University, are to make sure that the university's responsibilities for health and safety are adhered to. Also that there are certain duties that are imposed on staff, maintaining sort of safety across the board. Also to maintain your safe working environment, so your safety, and the importance of reporting incidents, and for you to be aware of some of the local and university-wide policies and procedures. Now, these are some of the key contacts. Now, the Occupational Safety and Health and Environment Unit is based down on 47 Park Place on the main campus, not based on site, and they are the main hub for Cardiff University in terms of safety. So if you need key information, these are the key contacts. I'm sure, have you all got the induction pack with these notes on, with the slide notes? You should have all of these anyway, so you can refer to these at a later time, so I won't go into too much detail. But all the key numbers you need there should be within your induction packs. Okay, if you witness or are aware, or you think that there may be a fire, please obviously raise the alarm with break glass. You should see these in areas where there are sort of fire extinguishers. Inform a member of staff, obviously, and call all the threes. At that point, your local fire warden, again, make yourself known to them, or make yourself aware of who they are. They will escort you off the premises, and then make your way to the nearest assembly point. Okay, it depends where it is, and as well as determined by what building you're actually occupying. So again, just look at the notice boards and check, where the assembly points are for your relevant areas. Again, any other emergency, this may be, anything from threat of violence, or you've seen a crime, or someone's seriously injured in some way, or if someone has fallen over and hurt themselves. Again, you can call this all the threes. This is effectively our 999 for the site. You can also use 999, but this is the main number that we use here. So if you just dial 33333, that's correct, that'll get you to the emergency services contact. Okay, this is just a brief list of some of the regulations that we need to adhere to across the site. That's just a sample. There's something like 40 or 50 different types of regulations that we need to adhere to. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail on these, but essentially these are the regulations we need to follow it in order for us to maintain a safe working environment. And the reason why we need to comply with legislation is mainly so we can just go ahead with work activities. Now, this talk is mainly aimed at laboratory procedures and safety within laboratory areas, but this covers office areas as well, and even communal spaces. But again, in order for us to go ahead with work, and we have certain restrictions put in place, because if we do breach any of the regulations, again, the Health and Safety Executive, which is a government body, they've got the ability to serve improvement notices, which essentially say you need to improve your systems, or we can close you down. Or serve prohibition notices, which means they can instantly close down a laboratory. So if you're in serious breach for whatever reason, they can actually come in and close you down. And again, the ultimate consequence could be prosecution of the university or the Dean of Medicine, or as far up as a VC, and with fine or imprisonment. So it's a serious point. Again, we haven't got to that stage yet, but that's because we tried to run a tight ship here and control all the hazards in place. Right, if you have had an incident for whatever reason, again, it could be all work-related accidents, incidents, diseases, untoward occurrences, or any student incidents that might be, maybe threat of violence, as I mentioned before. This is, again, I don't want to scare you on this. This hasn't really happened. But if you see any of this, again, please report this. We've got a mechanism in place for reporting these. And then we can provide advice to prevent things in the future and also help you with the immediate incident. And again, so please, if you're involved in any incident from needle stick right way through to anything more serious, then please report this to your supervisor or building or safety coordinator. Again, that's the information is part of the HSE guidelines and RIDO, the reportable incidences and dangerous occurrences regulations. Okay, this is just a snapshot of the website. If you need any specific information, please go to visit the OSHU website, which is the Cardiff University Central Repository for Information on Safety. Again, so that's the web address there. Again, it should all be in your university your induction pack, so I won't go into too much detail on that. Okay, so one of the key parts of the key regulation that we've got in place is the management of health and safety at work regulations. Now, this imposes duties on employees or supervisors, and then they need to ensure that you have adequate risk assessments in place for every work activity with a significant hazard. This information needs to be passed on to you, okay, and identify all the risks. And they need to ensure that you have sufficient competency and skills in order to maintain and carry out those work activities in a safe manner. Okay, and also there's duties imposed on yourselves to ensure that you follow and use the safety facilities that are provided for you. And also that you inform the employer of any unsafe conditions or shortcomings. Okay, so those are broad categories of hazard. I don't really need to explain these. You've got physical, electrical, radiation, substances, ergonomic. You've got students there as a particular hazard, but that's just in general terms. If that's a hazard related to any sort of student-related activity inside or outside of the working environment. And again, if there are any sort of incidents that result in that, I get reported. Well, please report those to us or a member of staff. Also, fire and explosion. So that's a brief overview of what kind of hazards you may come into contact with. Now, we're not too concerned about what hazards are in place. I mean, by the very nature of you working in a laboratory environment, there are going to be serious hazards in place. You're going to be working with carcinogens, possibly toxins. You're going to be working with acids, and so on. Okay, but the important thing is that we have a mechanism for controlling these. So we need to make sure that we control risk. Now, risk is a combination of likelihood and severity. Now, as you can see there, if you have a very low likelihood and a very low severity of something happening, then you got a zero number. So, but if you've got something that's almost certain to happen and it's causing a fatality, then that's in the category of we haven't got any control over it. Okay, so anything that exceeds a value of between 6 and 9, then we need to put even more control measures in place in order to carry out that work activity. Now, again, please refer to your supervisor and your local safety officers to guide you through anything you may be unsure of in terms of the risk assessments in place. Okay, so one of the other pieces of legislation which is very important is the control of substances hazardous to health regulations. And this means that it's our duty to prevent any exposure to hazardous substances to you. When we can't completely prevent the exposure, then we need to, within reasonable, practicable terms, we need to adequately control these. So we do this by a series of mechanisms using, for example, fume cabinets if you're handling volatile chemicals, or using engineering controls, putting certain shields in place if you're using radiation and so on. So these things need to be in place before you start any work. And again, if you're in any doubt of doing any work within your laboratory areas, again, please check with your supervisor. This is just going over what I've just said, actually. So again, it assesses the risks. It allows you to control or prevent exposure. You can use those control measures then to maintain and examine and test the control measures that are in place. And where appropriate, you can carry out health surveillance. But the main thing is that you gain as much information and train as you can whenever you carry out any work activity. But these are examples of some of the microbiological safety cabinets that are maybe present on site that you're going to use potentially during your studies. And again, there's certain mechanism or methods for using these. And again, please discuss this with your supervisor or local safety officer about how to correctly use these. Also, well, in the last 10 days, we've developed, well, through Cardiff University, which is a accredited course to allow for fume cabinet awareness training. Now, I haven't got any sort of details on this, but I'll be getting in touch with you via Sarah Williams in order to get you enrolled on that. And again, it's about a 25-minute video. You answer 15 questions, and then you can print out the certificate after that. So it's very important for you if you are going to be using fume cabinets during your studies. Again, that's some of the information if you are going to be using biological agents. Again, I won't go into too much detail. Contact your local biological safety officer on that. One other thing, this is new from last year's intake in terms of the PGR induction, the Human Tissue Act. Now, this is something that we are keen to improve within the School of Medicine and also within Cardiff University. Now, this is an act that came into force in 2006, and it regulates the removal and storage and use of disposal of relevant material. Now, relevant material is material that may have come from a human body and consists of or includes human cells. Now, this could be anything from blood, tissue samples, nails, hair, this kind of level of detail. So it's very important that if you are going to be working with any of this material, that you contact your local person designate for your institute. Now, you may not, I realise there's a lot of information to get to you, but if you need any further information, please contact myself or the government's, the Governance Centre, which is based in Cardiff University. But I'll get in touch with you after the day if you are likely to be using any of this material. Now, the important thing to remember from this is that the HTA does not define storage. It could mean hours, days, weeks, or longer. The very possession of human tissue for research is deemed to be storage. Now, if there are any human tissue samples that you're likely to be working with and you store for any length of time, this is deemed storage, and there's certain regulations that we need to adhere to. So again, there's the detail there. Please refer to your induction packs for this link, and we can give you then guidance directly to your local person designate if you have any issues over that. Okay, you may be working with liquid nitrogen. Again, this is it's very prevalent across the School of Medicine, and you're more than likely to be using this during your research. Very important not to accompany any liquid nitrogen with it in a lift. We've got systems in place where technical staff or yourselves have a buddy system, and you close off the lift, and you can go up, and it goes up on its own, and then it gets withdrawn from the lift after that. It's very important to have regular testing regimes in place for the vessels that you may be having any liquid nitrogen stored in. And also you might need to think about ventilation in your area if you're using too much in a given space. And also use appropriate PPE. Now, again, I know it's like a broken record, but please refer to your local risk assessments. If you are going to be using any liquid nitrogen, look closely at the risk assessments and make sure that everything in there has been taken into account. Again, you may be working with radiation, and these are some of the key names that you need to be aware of. Dr. Mike Sabansky of OSHU, and he's the University Radiation Protection Advisor. Now, within each of the institutes, we have either one or several radiation protection supervisors, which again can guide you through any of the legislation and at-work activities in an environment where you are likely to be working with radiation. Also, the genetically modified organisms regulations, which are important if you are going to be working with genetically modified organisms. Then the person to contact would be Dr. Rachel Coombe. She's the University Biological Safety Advisor. And again, within the institutes, we have biological safety officers, which can guide you through any of that legislation also. Okay, if you are likely to be working out of hours, and what constitutes out of hours is between 7 at night and 7 in the morning, then the important thing is to obviously check with your head of department or supervisor that this is appropriate for you to do so. And it's important also that you log in using that number 46600 in order to inform switchboard that of your location, your name, how long you're likely to be there, and your home telephone number. Now, this is important if you are working on your own And if there is an issue and they can't get in touch with you, then at least then they know where you are. So the security department will attempt to contact you. If they can't contact you by phone, they will come to that area and make sure that everything's okay. So that's an important process for you to follow. Okay. Again, make sure that you're aware of the first aid arrangements that are in your place for your given institute or building. We have various mechanisms in place. If it's a minor injury, again, you can first aid can be administered. If it's just a cut finger, for example. But if you're walking wounded, as I say, then you can go straight to it. We're fortunate to have the A&E department. If you need to contact the emergency unit, then that's the number. Actually, it should be a 48025, not 8025, because the numbers have changed recently. And again, if it's more serious, you can contact the ambulance via all the threes. Okay, please make yourself aware of the safety signage. You're probably used to this by working in labs or from your old school days. Again, just be aware of what you need to do when entering various areas, and please adhere to the, if they've got a safety sign in place, then please adhere to that. That's a warning sign, the yellow, green, black and green triangle. That's a prohibition, so no drinking within laboratory areas, for example. That tells you where to go in the event of a fire, for example. As you can see, there's fire safety exits on both sides, and those are the symbols there, so those are safe conditions, so that's an area for you to aim for if there was a fire. And mandatory, so you need to wear these if you're working in for example, if you're working next to a sonicator, for argument's sake, then you would need to put hear protection on. Okay, waste segregation. Now, if you're working within the main building, we have 3 systems currently in place. We have clinical yellow bags for laboratories and clinical areas. We have non-clinical black bags and office areas and libraries. And we also have sharps bins. There's also an orange bag waste in place for biological samples that aren't contaminated with any chemical. So anything that's contaminated with chemicals and so on within laboratory areas, that tends to be disposed of by the yellow bag route. Anything in office areas, then there's black bag. We also have some recycling within the main building, but again, we're in the process of developing that for some of the outlying buildings, which will come into effect very shortly, I've been told. If you have any sharps, obviously get rid of those by the sharps bins that should be available within your laboratories, but if they aren't, or if they've overfilled, please report this to a member of staff. Okay, electrical safety, what you need to do before you use any electrical equipment. Again, just make sure that it's not overloaded for any reason. Check for damage or equipment just by having a quick look. We don't expect you to take any plugs apart or anything. Just have a quick overview and just make sure that the leads and plugs are fit for purpose and they're not frayed or anything. Make sure that the grip and the cable sheath is appropriate. Report any faults to the safety coordinator. But we do have within School of Medicine a program of PAT testing, so that's portable appliance testing in place, which runs annually for laboratory areas and every 3 years for office areas and computer equipment within laboratory spaces. So again, we cover ourselves with the portable appliance testing regimes. Okay, I don't know if you've already registered yourselves with occupational health, but there's important things to consider if you are working in some environments. You may need hepatitis B vaccinations. Again, you can contact your institute safety officers for guidance on this. You may require that. Also, if you're working in a facility where there may be dander produced or anything of that nature, then you may need a spirometry to check your baseline lung function levels. If you're exposed to any particular toxic chemicals, then therefore you may need health surveillance, and we need to monitor your environment within laboratory space. And if any of you are, become pregnant, then again we need to risk assess further to make sure that that process is covered, and we need to just make sure that you're particularly safe and risk assess your environment. Certainly, yeah. So the important thing is that you have sufficient instruction, training and supervision. Now, it's the university responsibility to ensure that there's adequate information, training and supervision provided to all staff and students, that you carry out local induction training and you work safely and follow the risk assessment and cost regulations. So your role is to register with occupational health if you haven't done so already. receive appropriate training, risk assess significant hazards, follow the policies and procedures and instructions that you were given to follow, report any incidents and near misses, report any faulty or damaged equipment, and use that equipment properly and check if necessary. Use personal protective equipment where necessary. And remember, health and safety is everyone's responsibility. Okay, so don't forget, we have an operations team in place which is made up of facilities management and core technical staff. So if you have any issues regarding your equipment or whatever, get in touch with those. Make yourself known to them. Also, you can contact myself anytime and we can give you guidance. We've got OSHU's contact there and also the health centre's contact there. Now again, this wasn't designed to frighten you in any way. This is just so that we maintain a safe, controlled environment while you carry out your studies. And that's it. Any questions?